Imagine having a foreign leader coming into U.S. Congress, shitting on American citizens and having their own American representatives go, hell yeah, you're right. You cowards. All of you. Shame on every single person. AP stream is ahead. I don't care. We'll watch it on this one. I'm so mad. I'm so mad. It has nothing to do with the YouTube thing. I'm mad at this. This is disgusting. This is 100% the equivalent of like putting up, I'm straight up saying it. This is literally being like, yo, Adolf, come talk. Like, come talk, please, at the U.S. Congress. And it's wild that this was a bipartisan invite from Chuck Schumer, who like a month prior to this, prior to inviting him alongside Michael Johnson, Michael Penis, had literally said he's awful and we have to replace him with Benny Gantz. So I got all the smoke today. You know, listen, we're gonna be Israel posting today. Okay, I'm gonna be talking about Israel. So I know that that's like something that a lot of fair weather Democrats who only talk about want to talk about progress but never want to talk about this issue. You're gonna hear a little bit about that. Okay, so buckle in. Oh, bad news. What was the bad news? I mean, aside from this warmongering piece of shit with an arrest warrant application out right now at the International Criminal Court speaking to the U.S. Congress, the other bad news is Kamala Harris is potentially looking into Pete Buttigieg. And that's horrible. That's like tomatoes. I'm throwing tomatoes, okay? Please don't do that. Please don't do that. That's a horrible idea. Anyway, let's get started.
Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. Senator Ben Cardin. Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, Senators, members of Congress, distinguished guests. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank you for giving me the profound honor of addressing this great citadel of democracy for the fourth time. We meet today at a crossroads of history. Our world is in upheaval. In the Middle East, Iran's axis of terror confronts America, Israel, and our Arab friends. This is not a clash of civilizations. It's a clash between barbarism and civilization.
Gross, piece of shit.
It's a clash between those who glorify death and those who sanctify life.
Bro, dude, you are the barbar. You are the barbarism. You are doing the barbarism.
For the forces of civilization
40,000 in a conservative
America
estimate.
and Israel must stand together.
They're clapping for him!
Because when we stand together, something very simple happens. We win, they lose.
It's going to be so hard for me not to say terms of service violations right now. Like every person, they're giving him a standing ovation the entire time.
And my friends, I came to assure you today of one thing. We will win. Ladies and gentlemen, like December 7th, 1941, and September 11th, 2001, October 7th is a day that will forever live in infamy. It was the Jewish holiday of Simchat Torah. It began as a perfect day, not a cloud in the sky. Thousands of young Israelis were celebrating at an outdoor music festival. And suddenly, at 6:29 a.m., as children were still sleeping soundly in their beds in the towns and kibbutzim next to Gaza, suddenly heaven turned into hell. 3,000 Hamas terrorists
Yeah,
stormed into Israel.
he's gonna do gory details of October 7. He's gonna lie about some of the things that happened. Of course, he's not gonna bring up the fact that the IDF also messed up majorly, and that he is seen as like part of the reason why October 7 happened, like how it was ever allowed to happen. We're not even gonna get to any of that real shit. He is a monstrous piece of shit.
They raped women.
Yeah.
They beheaded men. They burnt babies alive.
None of that is real.
They killed parents in front of their children and children in front of their parents. They dragged 255 people, both living and dead, into the dark dungeons of Gaza. Israel has already brought home 135 of these hostages, including 7 who were freed in daring rescue operations. One of those freed hostages, Noor Gamani, is here in the gallery, sitting near my wife, Sarah. On the morning of October 7th, the entire world saw Noah's look of desperation as she was violently abducted to Gaza on the back of a motorcycle. I met Noah's mother, Leora, a few months ago. She was dying of cancer. She said to me, "Prime Minister, I have one final wish. I wish to hug my daughter Noah one last time before I die." 2 months ago, I authorized a breathtaking commando rescue operation. Our special forces, including a heroic officer named Arnon Zmora, who fell in this battle.
You guys are mentally
rescued
ill.
Noah and 3 other hostages.
If you think we're mentally ill for saying that, like, a person who is designated as a war criminal, okay, who has been responsible for the death and destruction of an entire area filled to the brim, an open air prison filled to the brim, 40,000 dead, the majority women and children. If we think that that guy is a piece of shit and that makes us mentally ill, then yeah, I guess we're mentally ill. We're the ones who are mentally ill. You're right. Like, this is equivalent to Adolf Hitler giving a speech and the American Congress giving him a standing ovation, like, straight up. It's insane. There is no world in which this would, like, ever happen.
Many hostage families are also here with us today, including Eliyahu Bibas. Eliyahu Bibas is the grandfather of those 2 beautiful red-headed boys, the Bibas boys, toddlers. And they were taken hostage with their mother and Eliyahu's son. The entire family was taken hostage. 2 beautiful red-haired children taken hostage. What monsters. And with us also is Iris Chaim, whose son, Yotam, bravely escaped Hamas captivity with 2 other Israelis, and tragically they were killed making their way back to our lines. We have with us also the families of American hostages. They're here.
Dude, this is, oh my God, I hate this. I hate this so much. But I do think, okay, here's my hopium. This is so gross, and it will literally bring back attention to Gaza, because everyone was talking about in the past 7 days, in the past 2 weeks, things heated up. Since the debate, basically no one was talking about Gaza. Benjamin Netanyahu coming out and swinging for the fences in the immediate aftermath of an ICJ decision that declared Israel to be an apartheid state, that Israel must immediately evacuate all the territories that it currently occupies and go back to 1967 borders, and then the ICC warrant for his application is supposed to be going through any time. When he's giving a standing ovation like this, okay, when you're giving a standing ovation like this, there are two things happen. One, people are going to be like, why the does anybody care about like a foreign leader this much? What the hell is going on? So it will negatively polarize people, I think. And secondly, it will cause people to pay attention to Gaza again. It'll be in the forefront of the conversation again. And that in and of itself, I think, will have negative consequences for Israel. It'll have negative consequences for Benjamin Netanyahu. Why are you muting? Just turn it down. Because I don't care. You've heard him a million times over. He's not going to say anything new. This is exactly the same speech.
President Biden for his heartfelt support for Israel after the savage attack on October 7th. He rightly called Hamas sheer evil. He dispatched 2 aircraft carriers to the Middle East to deter a wider war. And he came to Israel to stand with us during our darkest hour, a visit that will never be forgotten.
Like, the dark side of this, of course, is that this causes so much more people to be anti-Semitic. Like, this is how anti-Semitism festers, okay? Also, Nadler literally called Benjamin Netanyahu a piece of shit yesterday, and he's also giving him a standing O here today. So it's like, what are you doing? Nadler, you shit your diapers on a regular basis, and you're using what remains of your, like, battery as an 800-year-old demon to, like, stand up to give him claps. What are we doing here?
Have shown boundless courage. With us today, is Lieutenant Avichai Reuven.
Bro, they love doing identity politics. They're so conservative. They're like, yeah, look, see, we have black people in the IDF, dude. Hey, guys, don't ever look up what we did to Ethiopian Jews, okay? Please don't do that. Don't look at the sterilization operation that we engaged in.
Of October 7th,
Israel, famously not racist.
Of Hamas's bloody rampage. He put on his uniform.
Like, this man is literally a far-right Republican in terms of, like, American Congress. And you have Democrats clapping for him. Even on partisan boundaries, this makes no sense. It's like if Donald Trump set up the concentration camps and then put like a black Customs and Border Patrol officer in a State of the Union address or a State of the Congress, and every Democrat was like clapping for the black Customs and Border Patrol guy. You know what I mean? It's so gross.
You heard that right. He ran 8 miles, came to the front lines, killed many terrorists, and saved many, many lives. Avichai,
I think that's a reach. You think that's a reach? Benjamin Netanyahu is a far-right, he is a far-right ultra-nationalist piece of shit. He is literally more bloody. His hands are more bloody than like the average Republican almost, okay? Obviously not. America loves doing war crimes as well. But like, he is, in terms of Israeli politics, a right-wing conservative, okay? It's not a reach at all. This is identical. I'm using this analogy from American politics for all of the people who only understand American politics maybe a little bit and nothing about Israeli politics to literally comprehend what is going on here. You have bipartisan support pretty much for this far-right conservative who is actively murdering children and women, okay, who is a war criminal by international standards, and he is basically the far-right conservative of his own country, that where, you know, the only people to the right of him are just like literal Nazis, Jewish power party, like white power, okay, straight up, okay? And you have people wearing IDF dog tags in Congress. You have people giving him a standing O. Like, the equivalent would literally be having someone from the like having Donald Trump talk about how wonderful it is that, you know, they're murdering all the migrants in concentration camps or some shit, and then have and then point to like Customs and Border Patrol officers that are participating in that project, and have Democrats go, "Thank you, sir. You're right. You really restored this nation to peace and prosperity."
He was wounded in battle while protecting his fellow soldiers from a grenade. He lost his right arm and the vision in his
Look at
left
this
eye.
piece of shit. Oh, now he's in a suit. I hate this monster.
Within a short time, Asa will soon return to active duty as a commander of a tank company.
Wait, what? Bro doesn't have one arm. What do you mean he's going to be a commander? Are they that low on resources? That's crazy, dog. That's crazy, dog.
I just learned there is a fourth hero here, Lieutenant Jonathan Ben Chamo, who lost a leg in Gaza and continued to fight.
He's like, you guys don't understand. We literally are running out of people. We're running out of people. We're running out of tanks. We're running out of people. Please. Isn't Bibi from Pennsylvania?
Friends,
yes.
These are the soldiers of Israel, unbowed, undaunted, unafraid.
It's... Listen, you don't understand. He was bravely trying to snipe yet another child in the head and then accidentally slipped and fell and lost his leg.
As the Bible says, Am kelavi yakum. They shall rise like lions. They have risen like lions. The lions of Judah, the lions of Israel.
Why are they clapping for any of this?
Ladies and gentlemen, the men and women of the IDF come from every corner of Israeli society, every ethnicity, every color, every creed, left and right, religious and secular. All are imbued with the indomitable spirit of the Maccabees, the legendary Jewish warriors of antiquity. With us today is Yechiel Leiter, the father of one of those Maccabees. Yechiel's father escaped the Holocaust and found refuge in America. As a young man, Yechiel moved to Israel and raised a family of 8 children. He named his eldest son, Moshe, after his late father. Moshe became an exemplary officer in one of our elite commando units. He served with distinction for 2 decades while raising 6 beautiful children of his own. On October 7th, Moshe volunteered to return to combat. 4 weeks later, he was killed when a booby-trapped mine exploded in a tunnel shaft right next to a mosque. At his son's funeral, Yechiel said this: if the state of Israel had not been established after the Holocaust, the image engraved in our collective
I know the
memory
Leiter family
would have been
personally.
the
They're
photograph
settlers.
of that helpless Jewish boy in the Warsaw Ghetto holding his hands up in the air with Nazi rifles pointed at him. But because of the birth of Israel, Yechiel continued, because of the courage of soldiers like my son Moshe, the Jewish people are no longer helpless in the face of our enemies.
Escape the Holocaust just to be abandoned by Israel and have the genocidal state brainwash his son and then lose them to Israel's genocidal operation? I know. He's like, dude, listen, he was on his way to go smell some Palestinian underwear that he found in a hollowed out apartment complex, and he blew up.
Please rise so we can honor your son's sacrifice. And I pledge to you and to all the bereaved families of Israel,
I don't care.
some of whom are in this hall today.
I don't care. I'm trying so hard. I'm trying so hard not to say some shit, dude. I'm trying so hard not to be on Fox News. Oh my Lord. America first, by the way. Yeah, Republicans love talking about America first, by the way. There is no world. I don't think that actual Republicans that aren't like the psychopathic biblical evangelical Protestants that think like Israel is going to bring about the rapture. Outside of those guys, I don't think any Republican listens to this rabid, monstrous piece of shit and watch their representatives and watch their senators get up and give more of a rabid applause to a foreign nation's leader than their own president when their own president speaks, okay? This is a more rabid audience, a more bipartisan audience then when a Democratic president addresses Congress, then when a Republican president addresses Congress. This is incredible, okay? This is incredible shit. There is no better representation that America is completely bought and sold to corporate interests, that American Congress is completely bought and sold to whatever our foreign policy is going to be in the Middle East, than what you are experiencing right now, okay? There is no way, I do not believe that like Republicans in Alabama that aren't like super invested in this televangelist narrative of the rapture coming are going to look at this and go, wow, I really love that my congressperson is out there clapping like a seal when this guy is saying like, we have to defend Israel. It's the most important state. Like, no shot, dude.
They refuse to make the simple distinction between those who target terrorists and those who target civilians, between the democratic state of Israel and the terrorist thugs of Hamas. We recently learned from the National Security Director, U.S. Director of National Intelligence, that Iran is funding and promoting anti-Israel protests in America. They want to disrupt America.
Yeah.
So these protesters burn American flags even on the 4th of July. And I wish to salute the fraternity brothers at the University of North Carolina.
Oh, God. Oh, I'm going to throw up.
The American flag.
Bro, this is American culture war shit. He's doing American culture war issues, brother. I'm telling you, he is just a Republican. Just a Republican, okay? He is literally doing American culture war notes.
For all we know,
yeah,
Iran
clapping USA to Israel's prime minister is so funny. Yeah, no, totally.
But they're there.
Hey man, I don't know how y'all do it in Israel, but we got a thing called free speech here, okay? America, this shit ain't Israel, okay? You can't complain and cry about what is done to the American flag. Suck my dick.
You have officially
it's called the First
become
Amendment.
Iran's
Constitutionally
idiots.
protected too, bitch. Bitch ass. He's making me... Imagine having a foreign leader coming into U.S. Congress, shitting on American citizens and having their own American representatives go, hell yeah, you're right. Suck my dick, you monstrous pieces of shit. You cowards. All of you. Shame on every single person.
Proclaiming gays for Gaza. They might as well hold up signs saying chickens for KFC.
Gross, dude.
These protesters chant from the river to the sea, but many don't have a clue what river and what sea they're talking about. They not only get an F in geography, they get an F in history. They call Israel a colonialist state. Don't they know that the land of Israel is where Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob prayed, where Isaiah and Jeremiah preached, and where David and Solomon ruled?
Why is Hakeem Jeffries clapping at that? Why are you clapping at that, you donkey?
For nearly 4,000 years, the land of Israel has been the homeland of the Jewish people. It's always been our home. It will always be our home. It's not only the campus protesters who get it wrong. It's also the people who run those campuses. 80 years after the Holocaust, the presidents of Harvard, Penn, and I'm ashamed to say my alma mater, MIT, couldn't bring themselves to condemn the calls for the genocide of Jews. You remember what they said? They said, it depends on the context. Well, let me give these befuddled academics a little context. Anti-Semitism is the world's oldest hatred. For centuries, the massacre of Jews was always preceded by wild accusations. We were accused of everything from poisoning wells, to spreading plagues, to using the blood of slaughtered children to bake Passover matzahs. These preposterous anti-Semitic lies led to persecution, mass murder, and ultimately to history's worst genocide, the Holocaust. Now, just as malicious lies were leveled for centuries at the Jewish people, malicious lies are now being leveled at the Jewish state. No, don't applaud. Listen. The outrageous slanders that paint Israel as racist and genocidal are meant to delegitimize Israel, to demonize the Jewish state, and to demonize Jews everywhere. And no wonder we've witnessed an appalling rise of anti-Semitism in America and around the world.
Yeah, dude, no, this definitely won't contribute to like an appalling rise of actual anti-Semitism after Americans literally see something that they're not used to and they're like, why is this foreign leader getting so much play? Why does he have so much motion in American Congress? You think this doesn't contribute to anti-Semitism? This is literally like an American Nazi's wet dream, okay? This is an American Nazi's wet dream. They're going to be like, they will run this over and over again to be like, see, they will take advantage of the lack of critical thinking. They will take advantage of the lack of critical thinking that the average American has on this issue, because on the one side, on the Israeli front, Israel consistently uses Judaism as a cynical deployment, a cynical shield to be like, yeah, we're doing this for Jews around the world. Joe Biden then reiterates that point and says, not a single Jew would be safe without Israel being a Jewish ethno-state. So Americans also associate Israel with Judaism when they shouldn't, okay? But there is no greater way to make that argument like, oh, see, look, Jews control the media, Jews control the Congress, like, look at this, is exactly what Nazis are going to say over and over and over again, especially as these dickheads are giving him a standing ovation.
Who aren't getting enough food, it's not because Israel is blocking it, it's because Hamas is stealing it.
It's just, all of this is objectively a lie.
Another. The ICC prosecutor accuses Israel of deliberately targeting civilians. What in God's green earth is he talking about? The IDF has dropped millions of flyers, sent millions of text messages, made hundreds of thousands of phone calls to get Palestinian civilians out of harm's way. But at the same time, Hamas does everything in its power to put Palestinian civilians in harm's way. They fire rockets from schools, from hospitals, from mosques. They even shoot their own people when they try to leave.
Bro, he's literally just talking about Israel. He's literally just talking about Israel.
Listen to this. He boasted that Palestinian women and children excel at being human shields. His words, excel at being human shields. What monstrous evil. For Israel, every civilian death is a tragedy. For Hamas, it's a strategy. They actually want Palestinian civilians to die so that Israel will be smeared in the international media and be pressured to end the war.
Bro's like, we just can't stop killing Palestinian babies, okay? We won't stop. We can't stop. And Hamas loves it. They take advantage of our unimaginable violence. And the worst part about killing all of those Palestinian babies is that we look bad. People go, hey, man, why are you killing so many babies? It's really f***ed up. Virtually every single thing he has said has been debunked.
The vast majority of Americans,
every single thing he has said is either pure projection, it's Israel doing shit that he's attributing to Hamas, or they've been completely debunked. Will they bring up a Trump-style interpreter on CNN to address all of the lies he has told? I don't know.
But as for the minority,
I'm not holding my breath.
That may have fallen for Hamas's con's job, I suggest you listen to Colonel John Spencer. John Spencer is head of urban warfare studies at West Point. He studied every major urban conflict I was going to say in modern history. He corrected me, no, in history. Israel, he said, has implemented more precautions to prevent civilian harm than any military in history and beyond what international law requires. That's why, despite all the lies you've heard, the war in Gaza has one of the lowest ratios of combatants to non-combatants casualties in the history of urban warfare. And you want to know where it's lowest in Gaza? It's lowest in Rafah. In Rafah. Remember what so many people said? If Israel goes into Rafah, there'll be thousands, maybe even tens of thousands of civilians killed.
Y'all burned an entire tent city down. What do you mean?
I visited our troops as they finished fighting Hamas's remaining terrorist battalions. I asked the commander there, how many terrorists did you take out in Rafah? He gave me an exact number, 1,203. I asked him, how many civilians were killed? He said, Prime Minister, practically none, with the exception of a single incident where shrapnel from a bomb hit a Hamas weapons depot and unintentionally killed two dozen people.
Two to three civilians do not die for one Hamas terrorist.
None.
That's
You
not
wanna
even
know
true.
why? Because Israel got the civilians out of harm's way, something people said we could never do, but we did it.
I know. The reason why Congress looks full right now, even though half the Democratic caucus is not there, is because they put seat fillers on.
The war in Gaza, they should be commended for it. I want to thank all of you here today who forcefully opposed the false accusations of the ICC and stood up for the truth. These lies are not only libelous, they're downright dangerous. The ICC is trying to shackle Israel's hands and prevent us from defending ourselves. And if Israel's hands are tied, America is next. And I'll tell you what else is next. The ability of all democracies to fight terrorism will be imperiled. That's what's on the line. So let me assure you, the hands of the Jewish state will never be shackled. Israel will always defend itself. My friends, in the Middle East, Iran is virtually behind all the terrorism, all the turmoil, all the chaos, all the killing. And that should come as no surprise.
Wait, what? Did he
When he
say
founded
Israel
the
is behind all the
Islamic
terrorism in the Middle East? He's right.
Ayatollah Khomeini pledged, we will export our revolution to the entire world. We will export the Islamic revolution
Oh, he
to
said
the
Iran.
entire world. Now ask yourself, which country ultimately stands in the way of Iran's maniacal plans to impose radical Islam on the world? And the answer is clear. It's America, the guardian of Western civilization and the world's greatest power.
I'm not kidding. I think Benjamin Netanyahu is more popular in America than he is in Israel. I think Benjamin Netanyahu is more popular in America than he is in Israel. And I think Donald Trump is more popular in Israel than he is in America. It's like, what is happening?
That's why Iran sees America as its greatest enemy. Last month, we heard a revealing comment, ostensibly about the war in Gaza, but about something else. It came from the foreign minister of Iran's proxy, Hezbollah, and he said this: this is not a war with Israel. Israel, he said, is merely a tool. The main war, the real war, is with America. Iran's regime has been fighting America from the moment it came to power. In 1979, it stormed the American embassy. It held scores of Americans hostage for 444 days. Since then, Iran's terrorist proxies have targeted America in the Middle East and beyond. In Beirut, they killed 241 U.S. servicemen. In Africa,
Netanyahu claims
they bombed
civilian
American
casualties amount to
embassies.
practically none and
In
says
Iraq,
Israeli force should be
they
commended
supplied
for the number of
explosives to
civilians
maim
killed.
and kill thousands of American
Okay,
soldiers.
let's see if they keep that
America.
energy.
In America.
Why is chat so
They
anti-American?
actually sent
Dude,
death
that's so
squad.
funny that you're saying that. Like, because we're not dick riding a foreign nation. Because we're not dick riding a foreign nation's leader, absolutely just rubbing his penis on every single seat in Congress as they give him a standing O behind every word in a way that they don't even do when an American president is speaking. There are more partisan protests when an American president speaks and talks to its own Congress. And that's anti-American? You think that's anti-American because we're not sufficiently dick riding Israel, a foreign country? The fuck is being American to you? Oh, sorry. If you do not immediately get on your knees and suck Benjamin Netanyahu's dick and balls, you are not sufficiently pro-America. Suck my dick. Yo, what up?
That's why the mobs in Tehran chant death to Israel before they chant death to America. For Iran, Israel is first, America is next. So when Israel fights Hamas, we're fighting Iran. When we fight Hezbollah, we're fighting Iran. When we fight the Houthis, we're fighting Iran. And when we fight Iran, we're fighting the most radical and murderous enemy of the United States of America. And one more thing. When Israel acts to prevent Iran from developing nuclear weapons that could destroy Israel and threaten every American city, every city that you come from, we're not only protecting ourselves, we're protecting you.
Yeah, Iran is going to invade America any day now, guys. Any day now. Like, how can you say you love this nation and then simultaneously look at all of the poverty everywhere? Okay? The roads are, there's no infrastructure. Bridges are falling apart. You can't pay for education. Everything is too expensive. And this Congress is sending billions of dollars of weapons to a foreign state so they can actively murder more children and women. Like, think about that. How can you say you love America? How can you say you love America and then simultaneously turn around and go, and that's precisely why we got to give billions and billions of dollars to an apartheid state? Even if you don't give a even if you personally don't care about all the brown children that they're killing because they're brown, you should still be like, why are we giving them billions of dollars of weapons? Like, what the fuck are we doing here? Like, why are we giving them billions and billions and billions of dollars? What the fuck is that about? How does that make sense in your mind? If you're a Republican, how does that make sense in your mind? Explain that to me, okay?
To achieve this diplomatically. But let me be clear. Israel will do whatever it must do to restore security to our northern border and return our people safely to their homes.
And before people start chirping about like, oh, see, America's controlled by Jews, you know who's getting arrested outside of these halls right now? Jews, motherfucker. You know who got arrested yesterday? Jews. Jews for ceasefire. Not in our name. Okay? Jewish Voice for Peace. There are so many Jewish-led groups that are anti-war and anti-Israel and anti-Zionist that are getting absolutely murked right now by American police because they're American Jews who say, not in our name. Okay? And they get arrested by the hundreds. They are tear gassing the press outside right now. Okay? Without even a dispersal order given, mind you. And we're doing that for what? We're doing that for Israel. Okay? It's not for Jews, it's for Israel. Israel might claim cynically that they are doing this for Judaism, but it's absolutely unconscionable behavior that has nothing to do with Judaism whatsoever, okay? Never forget, there are significantly more evangelical Protestants that are ultra-Zionist in totality in this country than there are Jewish Zionists in this country, okay? There are 10x more evangelical Protestants that love Israel and want Israel to keep being this psychotic, rabid, bloodthirsty state, specifically because they think the rapture is going to happen. 10x the number of Jews in totality, as a matter of fact. Okay? Anti-Zionist Jews and Zionist Jews combined do not even make 1/10 of the number of evangelical Protestant Christians who are rabid ultra-Zionists in this country. Okay?
I deeply appreciate America's support, including in this current war. But this is an exceptional moment. Fast-tracking U.S. military aid can dramatically expedite an end to the war in Gaza and help prevent a broader
U.S.
war
Capitol
in the Middle
Police
East.
arrest Jewish activists calling for
In World
Israel
War
arms
II,
embargo. This happened yesterday.
As Britain fought on the front lines of civilization, Winston Churchill appealed to Americans with these famous words.
Hundreds of them.
Give us the tools and we'll finish the job. Today, as Israel fights on the front line of civilization, I too appeal to America. Give us the tools faster and we'll finish the job faster. My dear friends, the war in Gaza could end tomorrow if Hamas surrenders, disarms, and returns all the hostages.
Look at that. Netanyahu's giving a smug-ass speech in Congress. Karmit Palti-Katzir, whose father and brother were murdered on October 7th and her mom kidnapped, is arrested by Capitol Police for wearing a shirt demanding Netanyahu seal the deal. Like, there are Israeli...
But if they don't,
there are Israeli-American Jews who are literally there to protest Benjamin Netanyahu, whose family members have been killed on October 7th, and they're protesting Netanyahu, and we're arresting them, okay? We are so cucked, dude.
That's what total victory means, and we will settle for nothing less. The day after we defeat Hamas, a new Gaza can emerge. My vision for that day is of a demilitarized and de-radicalized Gaza. Israel does not seek to resettle Gaza, but for the foreseeable future, we must retain overriding security control there to prevent the resurgence of terror, to ensure that Gaza never again poses a threat to Israel. Gaza should have a civilian administration run by Palestinians who do not seek to destroy Israel. That's not too much to ask. It's a fundamental thing that we have a right to demand and to receive. A new generation of Palestinians must no longer be taught to hate Jews,
open the gate,
but rather to live in peace with us.
Hey, you can put the car in.
Those twin words, demilitarization and de-radicalization, those two concepts were applied to Germany and Japan after World War II, and that led to decades of peace, prosperity, and security.
Bro, that should be... That is what has to happen to Israel, my boy. That's what happens to that's what needs to happen to Israel.
Regional partners, the demilitarization and de-radicalization.
I'm trying a regular diet Dr. Pepper for the first time ever, by the way, unrelated to everything that's going on.
And peace. That's
after yesterday's shenanigans. I got a regular diet Dr. Pepper.
Now here's my vision.
Not sure if I like it.
For the broader Middle East, it's also shaped in part by what we saw in the aftermath of World War II. After that war, America forged a security alliance in Europe to counter the growing Soviet threat. Likewise, America and Israel today can forge a security alliance in the Middle East to counter the growing Iranian threat. All countries that are at peace with Israel and all those countries who will make peace with Israel should be invited to join this alliance. We saw a glimpse of that potential alliance on April 14th. Led by the United States, more than half a dozen nations worked alongside Israel to help neutralize hundreds of missiles and drones launched by Iran against us. Thank you, President Biden, for bringing that coalition together. The new alliance I envision would be a natural extension of the groundbreaking Abraham Accords. Those accords saw peace forged between Israel and 4 Arab countries, and they were supported by Republicans and Democrats alike. I have a name for this new alliance. I think we should call it the Abraham Alliance. I want to thank President Trump for his leadership in brokering the historic Abraham Accords.
Turns out the real unity ticket was Benjamin Netanyahu. Turns out that's the real unity ticket, boys.
Israelis were relieved that President
He
Trump
will unite
emerged
this country
safe and sound from that dastardly
and
attack
save the
on him,
bloodlust that we have.
dastardly attack on American democracy. There is no room for political violence in democracies. I also want to thank President Trump for all the things he did for Israel, from recognizing Israel's sovereignty over the Golan Heights, to confronting Iran's aggression, to recognizing Jerusalem as our capital and moving the American embassy there. That's Jerusalem, our eternal capital, never to be divided again. My dear friends, Democrats and Republicans, despite these times of upheaval, I'm hopeful about the future. I'm hopeful about Israel because my people, the Jewish people, emerged from the depths of hell, from dispossession and genocide. And against all odds, we restored our sovereignty in our ancient homeland. We built a powerful and vibrant democracy, a democracy that pushes the boundaries of innovation for the betterment of all humanity. I'm hopeful about America because I'm hopeful about Americans. I know how much the people of this country have sacrificed to defend freedom. America will continue to be a force for light and good in a dark and dangerous world. For free peoples everywhere, America remains the beacon of liberty its extraordinary founders envisioned back in 1776. Working together, I'm confident that our two nations will vanquish the tyrants and terrorists who threaten us both. As Israel's Prime Minister, I promise you this: no matter how long it takes, no matter how difficult the road ahead, Israel will not relent, Israel will not bend. We will defend our land, we will defend our people, we will fight until we achieve victory. Victory over liberty, rather victory of liberty over tyranny, victory of life over death, victory of good over evil. That's our solemn commitment. And we will continue to work with the United States and our Arab partners to transform a troubled region from a backwater of repression, poverty, and war into a thriving oasis of dignity, prosperity, and peace. In this noble mission, as in many others, Israel will always remain America's indispensable ally. Through thick and thin.
Here's the latest polls. Trump voters, the Israeli 60. What the is this? Trump voters say Israeli 68%. Harris voters,
Israel
Palestinians 34%, the Israelis 12%, about equal 38%.
On behalf of the people of Israel, I came here today to say thank you, America. Thank you for your support and solidarity. Thank you for standing in Israel, with Israel, in our hour of need. Together we shall defend our common civilization. Together we shall secure a brilliant future for both our nations. May God bless Israel, may God bless America, and may God bless the great alliance between Israel and America forever.
This is obviously vile, but I don't know, might have said enough to actually give cover for Dems to break on it, rebuff the peace plan, and glaze Trump on top of being a bloodthirsty monster. If the Democrats, which, by the way, in both the Senate and the House, almost the majority of the Democratic caucus did not attend this speech. They are either openly boycotting it or simply not attending it, okay? This is very important to understand. If Kamala Harris doesn't boulder Netanyahu after this speech, she was not in attendance here. If Kamala Harris does not boulder Netanyahu after the speech, which, by the way, this is the second time he's done this to a Democratic administration. For all of the liberals in the chat, okay, I need you to understand something. He did this shit to Barack Obama, too. Republicans, back then, Republicans invited him. This time it was a bipartisan invitation, okay? He did this shit to Barack Obama as well when Barack Obama was securing the Iran denuclearization agreement, okay? A phenomenal foreign policy achievement. If this level of disrespect is not even addressed on partisan lines, okay? Not even on a moral quandary, not even on moral boundaries, not even on like, oh, it's unconscionable that this guy is a bloodthirsty war criminal. Not even on those lines, but simply on partisan lines. The disrespect, the gall, the audacity that you could just sit there, be the biggest welfare state on the planet, okay? And then go up to daddy and spit on daddy's face like this. No more. No more, dude. Okay? No way, no how. The notion that he gets to...
That stands into contrast.
I want to see what the media coverage is going to look like on CNN, but the notion that like he gets to do this shit...
On the air here, some of them are Jewish, some of them focusing their criticism on Israeli policy, not on Israel's right to exist as a state. He deflected a whole host of criticisms.
Yeah, 58 members of Congress skipped Netanyahu's speech. More members skipped it this time around.
He says that if Palestinians are not getting enough food, that is not Israel's responsibility or fault. He blames it purely on Hamas. We should note that aid groups have said that Israel has made it very hard to get not just food, but
address that shit. Call that shit out.
Into Gaza, and that right now we're seeing levels of starvation.
I'm telling you, dude. I'm telling you, this is going to have backlash. This is going to negatively polarize people, I think. This is going to make people recenter their focus on Gaza. Kamala Harris has a phenomenal opportunity to change the narrative on the Democratic Party's allegiance to Israel, okay? Kamala Harris needs to ride this and at least on the messaging front come out way strictly, way more strict on
US
Israel.
Military commanders
okay? Kamala Harris has to go, maybe not balls to the wall, because that requires political bravery. I don't think she has it.
U.S. President Joe Biden at times, and Kamala Harris now, Vice President, of course, now the presumptive Democratic nominee for president. Two other bits of news from his speech. He used this language when describing Israel's intentions as regard the Iranian nuclear program. He said that when Israel acts to prevent Iran from getting nuclear weapons, he said when, not if. Quite a public commitment, it seemed, to potential Israeli action, perhaps military action against Iran's nuclear program. And
2015, 50 Dems in Congress boycotted the speech. Today it was 136 Democrats. Netanyahu and AIPAC are losing the Democratic Party.
Or resettle, but he said that Israel must retain what he described as overriding security control there for the foreseeable future. A strident speech, one that received a tremendous amount of applause from the Republican side of the chamber. There were a number of moments there during some of those lines when you could see on the Democratic side of the chamber
Bernie boycotted,
that they were
yes,
not standing and not applauding his comments. Our panel is with.
Yeah, Hakeem Jeffries was clapping too, though. That piece of shit. That piece of shit. Anyway, clapping. You'll be clapping at the top of the hour if you are already subscribed, because you won't be seeing those ads. If you want to be a part of the people that don't see the ads and actually have an uninterrupted broadcast experience, then subscribe for $6 or for free with a Twitch Prime.
Parties in this country, or even to others on the Palestinian side.
Yeah, I hope John Fetterman drives him the dinner. I hope John Fetterman is driving the car with Benjamin Netanyahu. That'd be awesome, M. Hud. You're right. Here's the 3-minute ad break now.
Well, I think, Jim,
I'm sorry I didn't give the best possible ad break segue right now. I'm a little heated. I'm a little emotional.
in terms of strategy or tactics,
I was clapping too. It was a great speech. Cool, man.
Orchestrated political theater, actually. Almost like a sports event. We win, you lose.
He's not wrong, but he's on the side of death law. What are you talking about?
What disappoints me a great deal, again, is that Netanyahu framing the existential threat to Israel as only Iran. Iran is obviously a threat to Israel, to the region. We know that. But Iran is a nation state and will have to be dealt with as a nation state in conflict and in conflict resolution. But in my eyes and in the eyes of
No,
many people,
they were trying to do a double debate, even though I already run the ad break.
throughout the world, one can make the argument that the real existential threat to a democratic Jewish state called Israel is the Palestinian issue. Because in between, and Netanyahu mentioned between the Jordan River and the Eastern Mediterranean Sea, well, let me put it in this reference point. In between the Jordan River and the Eastern Mediterranean, there are approximately 7.2 million Palestinian Arabs and approximately 7.2 million Israeli Jews. They share the land.
Leaked UN report, Israeli war has killed 366 UN staff and family members as Netanyahu prepares to address Congress.
Going to be to continue to occupy the Palestinian territories.
John Ossoff walked out of Netanyahu's speech to Congress.
Because this has been,
by the way,
has proven
John
to be
Ossoff,
a disastrous policy.
like APAC tracker aside, John Ossoff is a Jewish senator and has actually been pretty critical of Israel. Like, that's not even a joke. No, don't say he's a rabid Zionist and is Jewish. That's not true. I don't like this at all. In terms of American congresspersons, John Ossoff has been absolutely more critical of Israel than the majority of the American Congress. You are wrong, okay? What the fuck are you talking about? Like, he was, yeah, dude. You guys are just, I don't like it when you read headlines and it corresponds to your biases, and then you jump to like anti-Semitic conclusions so frequently, okay? It's like talking about Douglas Emhoff and being like, well, Kamala Harris's husband is a Zionist and he's Jewish or whatever. First of all, that doesn't change the narrative at all. That doesn't change like what Kamala Harris's opinion might be on the issue at all. And speaking of which, even Douglas Emhoff, for the most part, is still a liberal Zionist and going to be much more critical than stop calling this shit anti-Semitism. Stop calling this shit anti-Semitism in a Congress where the overwhelming majority of the Christian Republican Party is infinitely more rabid in terms of their ultra-Zionist positions than John Ossoff, and being like John Ossoff is a hyper-Zionist or whatever the is wrong. Okay? It is borderline anti-Semitic. Like your calculation has to be on par with what the normal opinion is, okay? It also misses the forest for the trees. It misses the forest for the trees. I know a lot of people get mad when I do this, okay? But you're hyper focusing on what someone's ethnic background or what someone's religious background is like a dumbass, okay?
That address, 9 senators not present, and the Vice President Kamala Harris not present.
It's not Chatter's fault that Israel's doing everything in its power to fuel anti-Semitism. No, this community is not one of those communities, though. Okay, that's ridiculous.
What you've seen is not the Prime Minister of Israel. You've seen the Republican senator from Jerusalem speaking to his colleagues on the Republican side. And
I've literally had goyim in my life say that anti-Zionist Jews are feds, which is so weirdly anti-Semitic and strange that I can't figure out how we made this jump. It's the most normal American perspective, I think. Americans are so unimaginably reactionary, and like there are a lot of Christian ultra-Zionists that are so aggro, like they're so anti-Semitic and so aggro.
This was a series of 100 Chinese restaurant fortune cookies. Just a bunch of incoherent cliches laid on the table. It was filled with inaccuracies. It was mendacious. It was manipulative. But back to your question, it catered to Republicans. And you are right when you said that
the most you're going to hear from CNN is going to be liberal Zionism that's hypercritical of Benjamin Netanyahu. At this stage, it's like, I'll take it. But you have to remember something, okay? The most you're going to see is like liberal Zionism, okay? They're going to be like, oh, we hate Benjamin Netanyahu. Benjamin Netanyahu is bad. And it's true. He is bad, okay? That's like the most radical approach that you're going to hear. But the fact that they don't have like rabid ultra-Zionists on the panel chirping about how beautiful this speech was is a genuine improvement in comparison to like 5 years ago, which is wild. Things have changed dramatically since October 7. The calculation has changed dramatically since October 7. Like Waleed was talking about here, in terms of like U.S. congressional support. Okay, in terms of U.S. congressional support, this is Very important to take note of. Okay. In 2015, 50 Democrats in Congress boycotted Netanyahu's speech to Congress. Today, it was 136 Democrats. Okay. Isn't the left protesting anti-Semitic if they against Zionists too? I don't know. No, dude. No, it is not. It is not anti-Semitic to be anti-Zionist. Okay. I think that things are changing. That's why I feel a little bit hopeful. And when I look at all the death and destruction that is happening in Gaza, I still maintain a shred of optimism.
Wrong statements that you could possibly make in a case like this. It is very clear, even though when you look at the statistics from Gaza, the Palestinians,
97% of Jews are Zionists. That's also not true.
Do not differentiate between combatants and civilians. It is still very clear that thousands of women and children have been killed in these Israeli actions. And as a result of this, anytime you do something like that as a military force, you are definitely putting yourself at risk to be sanctioned by international legal organizations such as the International Criminal Courts or the International Court of
You
Justice.
losers don't know what Zionism is? Trump is God.
Very serious
That's right.
issue
Hell yeah,
for,
baby.
in this case, the IDF. And it is really essential, I think, Jim, that
you're right,
people
brother.
Understand that everything that is being talked about here there's a real problem with some of the things that have been said, because the facts on the ground are quite simply these, that the Israelis have killed civilians, and there have been numerous casualties on the civilian side, not just a few, not just 24, as he mentioned in his
That was crazy. He said 24 civilians. That's crazy.
Military officers that he spoke to, but we're talking thousands here, and that is a serious, serious problem.
Before we go, Ambassador Deredjian, the Israeli Prime Minister suggested the possibility of a broader regional alliance against Iran. He suggested the title, the Abraham Alliance, building on the Abraham Accords negotiated under President Trump. Now, there has been some tension in those diplomatic relationships in the months and years since, particularly since October 7th, given the conduct of the war. Do you see a basis for the kind of alliance that he was suggesting there?
I think it's sheer empty rhetoric on the part of Netanyahu, because what Hamas did brutally on October 7th was to raise the price of normalization of Arab countries with Israel to the point where the top Saudi officials have said that normalization with Israel will now have to be predicated on, quote unquote, irreversible steps toward the creation and establishment of an independent Palestinian state. You cannot build a so-called Abraham coalition on sand. It has to be built on dealing with the critical land for peace issues between Israel and Palestine. And that's why this is empty rhetoric on Netanyahu.
Well, you speak from experience,
also, Jim,
certainly.
May I say, Jim, also, we all know this, but one of the reasons Netanyahu cannot utter these words in terms of possible agreements with the Palestinians for a state or anything of that nature is because of his coalition, his extremist coalition. If he utters that, he risks his coalition falling apart and his losing power. And we know that one of the reasons of this trip is for him to continue to stay in power. This is
kind of good. They're panning it. They're panning it kind of hard. Like
Ambassador Deredjian, Alan Pincus, Cedric Layton, thanks so much for helping
these are like Israeli, like these are ambassadors to Israel. Okay. Like that is, yeah, dude, hit it on partisan grounds at the most. Initial reaction from a foreign policy minded Dem, Chris Murphy. As you guys know, Chris Murphy is famous for saying, we tried to do a coup in Venezuela and Trump fucked it up. He said a setback for U.S.-Israel relationships. Very clearly playing the Trump. Pretty extraordinary to show up to the U.S. and put yourself in the middle of an American political contest. Is that extraordinary? Is that surprising? Or is that just so perfect? Just so perfect and so normal for Benjamin Netanyahu and for Israel to do so. Okay? Like, what did you think was going to happen? That's why it was a massive misstep that this decision was bipartisan. Like Chuck Schumer, who a month prior to capitulating to the right, Chuck Schumer literally said, Benjamin Netanyahu is awful. Benny Gantz is our guy. Okay. And then a month later, he was like, yeah, no, he's awful. And that's why I welcome him to address I welcome him to address the United States Congress. He put his name out there alongside Hakeem Jeffries. Okay? What an unimaginably idiotic thing to do. What a silly, stupid thing to do. So stupid. So stupid. But like I said, the possible possible upside of this, maybe I'm on too much hopium, is that this will cause people to pay attention. This will, one, cause Democrats, I hope, to at least react and get negatively polarized from a partisan manner. Okay? That's number one. And number two, this will cause Americans to literally pay attention to Gaza again, which will force the Democratic Party's hand into making a distinction between their unconditional support and loyalty to Israel and the Republican Party's unconditional support and loyalty to Israel. Okay?